Hello once again. So here we are. I don't know why this is off to the left. Why is the center over there? Anyways, we are here once again to talk about the esophagus. And to talk about the esophagus, we will need our esophagus. So let's get a digestive tract on. And as we have our esophagus, it runs down anterior to the spinal cord or the spinal vertebrae, and it's in let's get other parts up. So if we have our esophagus, let's get our heart up. And it's interesting to note that the esophagus runs down anterior to the vertebrae, then runs to the side of the aorta where it comes down when it starts descending. But then the aorta goes behind it, and when it goes behind it, naturally, the esophagus will run anterior to the aorta. So it's anterior to the aorta, and the spinal cord starting around which one is that? So we have our T7, and so it crosses over around T7 and starts running anterior to the aorta. It's behind the heart, obviously, and so since it's behind the heart, it will be in the posterior mediastinum. So if the mediastinum is the region where the heart is, and you have a square, let me see if I can. Stay there, don't bother me. If you had a square, am I drawn? Okay. I need the color blue. And so you have a full square like that. And in that square is your mediastinum, of the anterior portion. Oops, I shouldn't move this. It becomes trippy. I didn't finish my square. Right there. All right, now we have our square. So the anterior portion of this little square that I drew in would be anterior mediastinum, and the back side of it would be posterior mediastinum. So technically, our esophagus and our aorta are in the posterior mediastinum. Obviously, the aorta starts at the superior part of the mediastinum, which is the top part of the square, then runs posteriorly and runs down. So that's what it means when it says esophagus is in the posterior mediastinum. All right, let's get that out of the way. Now we have our bare bone esophagus skeletal with the arteries. Now let's get our respiratory tract. And when we get our respiratory, we can only have 3 of these main things on. So one of these is going to get off. So I'm going to take this off and get our trachea on. And when we have our trachea, we still see that the esophagus runs behind the trachea. And what's interesting to note is that there are 4 constrictors of the esophagus, right at the beginning. There is 6 inches down, so the esophagus is 10 inches long. At the beginning, 6 inches down, you have your first constrictor, which would be around this area, and it's where your tracheoesophagus is. It is called the one sec. Pharyngoesophageal constrictor. Yeah, forgot that name. So, yeah, we have our first constrictor, which is 6 inches down, and would be our pharyngoesophageal constrictor. And we'll get more into what is there, but now we know our first constrictor is 6 inches down. Then our next one would be where the left, no, it's where the aorta and the broncho passes the um, esophagus, and it's called the aortic arch, broncho aortic constrictor. Yeah, I forgot that one. 2. Hey, sorry about that. Let me get this out of the way. So where the esophagus and aortic arch crosses, you have the bronchoaortic arch. So in this area, there's a constrictor that is pushing against the esophagus. And when you go down, so this is 9 inches in. When you go down 2 inches in, where you have the left trachea branching off, so you have the right trachea branching off here, then you have the left trachea branching off in there. That would be your third constrictor, which is 11 inches down. So you have 6, then you have 9, then you have 11 inches, where just the trachea is branching off. It would constrict it. Then your last one will obviously be your, if we got rid of the heart, you brighten your muscle, shift it down to see where we only have a diaphragm. That spot where it crosses the diaphragm is where our last constrictor would be, and it will be the diaphragmatic constrictor of the esophagus. So, and that is how many inches? 15 inches down from where the esophagus begins. So, there you have it, all our 4 constrictors of the esophagus. Now, save time and go in. Yep. And we'll go into our ant mode. Yep. Now, you two will probably come with me. So we'll travel in here. And before we travel in, let's get rid of our arteries. Put our muscle on. So we have our diaphragm, and we have our T8, go down, T9, T10, and okay, diaphragm muscle. So we have a abdominal part of the esophagus. We have a thoracic part and a cervical part up there. So we are in the diaphragm right now, and the diaphragm, yeah, we all know it's a larger muscle in there, most important. And she notes that the esophagus pierces the diaphragm at the level of T10. Here it says T8. We have our T10 somewhere over here, but obviously genetic variation is common. So some people would have it at a different spot, but I think general consensus is that it pierces it around the level of T10 and it finishes around the level of T11. So we have our esophagus piercing it, and yeah, scoochie. So if we go into our stomach, okay, now we're in the stomach and it's getting very messy. So this is our esophageal mucosa. Right? If we go down, we see how this looks somewhat different than that. You could say it looks the same, but this would be our Z line, and our Z line is where the esophageal mucosa changes from simple squamous simple stratified, no, not simple, stratified squamous, non-keratinized, to simple columnar epithelium in the stomach. So that would be our Z line. And yeah, let's get out of this real quick. And so diaphragm, T10, ends at T11. We have our peritoneal covering of our stomach. We're not there yet, so we'll back off a little bit. And yeah, that's our nice little model. We have our Z line. We have our 4 constrictors. It appears at T10. And yeah. I don't know how much we've done on time, but we will switch to the arteries. And let's get rid of the muscle. Toss on our arteries. So how much are we doing on time? 9:18. When did I start this? I don't want to run for too long, so I'll end it here and start a new one.